MTC webinar. Let's get the screen's working. I'm Nigel Knapp, the Business Development Manager for the MTC, the Manufacturing Support Services team. The MSS team, with a customer-facing arm of the MTC, reaching out to manufacturers to understand their challenges and use the expertise of the MTC to help overcome them. In today's webinar, which we expect to last about 45 minutes, we have two speakers, Paul Duffy and Richard Blaine. Paul is a lead advisor in the business transformation team. He's worked at the MTC for 3 years with 17 years previous experience in the aerospace manufacturing sector in logistics, operation and lean transformational roles. Paul has a deep understanding of operational best practice as a prerequisite to transformational change. He's deeply interested in the appropriate use of technology to strategically enhance the competitive advantage of UK manufacturing businesses. Richard is a senior research engineer in the technology transformation team. He's worked at the MTC for 8 years, primarily introducing automation into aerospace assembly operations, supporting large-scale technology transformations. Prior to joining the MTC, Richard worked in the energy sector, in gas turbines, turbo machinery, advanced mechanical engineering, and manufacturing leadership roles. So during the webinar, we want to provide you with tools and advice on how to enhance and de-risk the strategic planning of your technology investments. Here's the agenda, and aware that some of you may not have heard the MTC, I'll shortly provide a very brief introduction before we get into the presentations. After each presentation, there is a Q&A session, which will be hosted by Chris. And after that, we just finish with a brief video of the Manufacturing Support Services team and a special offer that we've put together for this event. So the MTC we're part of the High Value Manufacturing CATAPULT, which are a cluster of 7 businesses. They're from forming and research in Scotland through to the National Composite Centre down in Bristol. We're all there with a single purpose to help any UK manufacturer be more competitive on the global stage. Amongst our peers, the MTC are the new kids on the block. We opened 9 years ago, based in Coventry, just off the M6 Junction 2. But since then, we've now grown to 800 employees. Everybody there has a goal to help improve quality, cost and delivery performance of manufacturing businesses, with a very strong bias towards looking at new technology and how to de-risk and accelerate your return on investments. To support that, we have over 500 engineers and a very large facility full of the latest technology. For example, we are the National Centre for Additive Manufacturing. So as a very quick introduction to the MTC, what I'd like to do now is hand over to Paul for the first presentation. Over to you, Paul.
Good morning. Thanks, Nigel. So I want to talk a little bit about the imperative for change before Richard later talks about how to do a roadmap and give you an example. Thanks, Nigel. Manufacturing companies need to continually grow their businesses through development of operational facilities, flexibility and capabilities. The adoption of automation or new technology in many different forms provides opportunities to improve productivity, reduce manufacturing costs and increase competitiveness. The adoption of automation and technology also presents challenges which need to be taken into account when we're considering any investment. To secure approval from your stakeholders or funding from investors potentially, you'll need a good business case to present technology to be adopted in a positive but also in a balanced way. It's often necessary to seek funding for the purchase of new technology and to implement the process changes it will require. Whether it's sought from internal stakeholders or potential investors, it's essential that the request is supported by a robust and well-presented business case. And so that's a little bit where I'm going to focus today. It becomes even more important when the technology to be adopted is leading edge, cutting edge, or the process changes in the business are complex. Thanks, Nigel. So really, when thinking about imperative for change and inserting new or potentially disruptive technologies into your business, first of all, we need to think about, is it possible? Can it be done? Is it something that's even technically feasible or feasible within the realms of affordability for our business? So really that's the first decision point. And if it's something that we think, you know, is something that we've got potential to achieve, then we really need to think about, is it the right choice for our business? Quite often see people coming to the MTC because they've seen something really impressive at a trade show and have kind of shiny syndrome in their eyes. But what we like to think about really is, you know, where's the bottleneck in the business? What's actually the biggest opportunity for you to improve your business through technology for that competitive advantage? I think a good example in recent years of this has been perhaps Elon Musk, love him or hate him, really tried to leapfrog decades of learning in the automotive industry and fully automate the manufacture of cars from the beginning. And actually, after a couple of years in, realized and was quoted as saying, actually, for some parts of building cars, people are really good at this. And a lot of the robots, you know, ended up in the bin in phase one. And so you really need to build up that technology and that learning in the business and understand where it should and shouldn't be applied. And then what would make it worth it for our business? So I like to think about this as doing a bit of a sensitivity analysis. What's going to be the biggest bang for your buck? What's actually the most worthwhile place to insert technology in the business? And are you ready to insert that technology yet? So do we also need to work on foundational stuff like operational culture, maybe how your business model works, logistics and other supporting operations around that? So moving on to the next slide. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Made Smarter review. I'd recommend it as a good resource for particularly looking at the insertion of digital technologies, but actually the theory really applies to many other technologies in your business as well. What we're saying here is developing an effective business case, particularly for disruptive technologies, but all technologies. You need to consider your costs and benefits in different ways to perhaps traditional manufacturing, where you're maybe buying more of the same equipment that you already have. If you think about technologies such as additive manufacturing, it can fundamentally change the way that your supply chain works, and you can get competitive advantage by thinking differently, rather than maybe considering higher volumes and lower labor costs. You may have market advantage such as more customization or proximity to the market that you're trading in. So that's a really useful resource. And then moving to the next slide. So I like to think about advantages to your business in these three topic areas on this Venn diagram, really. So first of all, particularly with disruptive technologies, thinking about new business opportunities and models. If you could move that on, Nigel. So thinking about strategic business advantages for your business, a new technology may give you an opportunity to think differently about the way that you offer your service. And I say service, not just product, your manufacturing service to the market. So perhaps decentralized production, localized production, maybe some more opportunities to customize your product rather than holding large batch stocks from traditional methodologies. Meeting just-in-time needs and things like that are really useful, particularly in the spares or repairs markets. If we can click on Nigel. So also thinking about performance and life cycle benefits to your product. So new technologies may be able to give you internal or external benefits here. So for example, you might be able to consolidate assemblies. You might have more design freedoms or more design opportunities afforded by different manufacturing technologies. So you may be able to do more complex or more functional products. In aerospace in particular, for example, lightweighting may be an opportunity. If you think about a technology combining perhaps additive and automation, you may have some opportunities to redesign the product fundamentally. And you may be able to explore opportunities for different materials, again, for different product function or durability. And then we move on to the cost of producing part. So again, particularly with more established and known technology insertion, you may be looking at doing it for cost saving reasons. So maybe simplifying the production process, eliminating some peripheral processes and combining things, increasing capacity for production so you can introduce new product lines or expand the market again. And it may be able to afford you to do some leaner manufacturing, so potentially less wasted material, more flexible volumes, or reduced lead time and inventory. And on this Venn diagram, what we tend to find is, depending on the maturity of the technology that we're looking at, you tend to start in the top circle or the left-hand circle. And as a technology matures, and it's something you may consider on the timeline of a roadmap, for example, materials and processes and machines become increasingly commoditized. So you move away from just having the advantage of, potentially new business models or product performance, and actually it also becomes a cost saver. So if you take, for example, additive manufacturing, we find that at the moment the machines and the materials are generally higher to produce an additive part than for a casting or a machined part, for example. But as time goes on, where you're sitting in that Venn diagram does gradually move towards the left. So that's something that you need to consider on the timeline of technology development over the years through your business. Okay. Thanks, Nigel. So I like to think about the advantages and the limitations of technology insertion internally and externally to your business. So when you are considering new technologies, really think about how it's going to impact you and what are the things that you may need to overcome. Done an example here listed for additive manufacturing, just to sort of bring it to life a little bit, really. So for example, we're talking about, obviously with the customer, really that market competitive advantage. So perhaps the design freedom, customization and personalization might be real advantages in the market that you're operating in. But you've also got to consider that you've got limitations on the available materials, you've got higher costs of manufacturing that you may need to overcome. But also internally, you're then potentially looking at, what are the opportunities in terms of part consolidation to reduce cost. So although on its own it's a more expensive process potentially, you may have other opportunities. So you really need to think about your whole value stream when you're doing these things and that business model. Okay, let's move on, Nigel. So when we're considering a business case, this is a very top level outline of the process that we go through. I'm not going to go in detail through the process. I really want to focus on benefits here. So if we look at the bottom left hand side, we've got quantifiable benefits through applying technology, and this is a really good way to build your case for investment if this is something that you need to present a business case to be able to secure the investment in your business. You really need to think about your sales in the future and what market you're potentially unlocking, particularly at the moment where we may be looking at alternative sectors. Certain sectors have suffered during COVID times, things like aerospace, maybe looking at medical devices, for example. So how do we quantify the potential market that we could unlock there? What's your competitive market in there? And then other benefits as well. So thinking about things like staff retention. And we actually tend to find that inserting new technologies and staying up to date and learning as a business about these things is a really good way to inspire the younger generation of engineers and retain staff and attract some of the best people into your business as well. So we're really thinking about a long-term view of the business case, particularly with new technologies and disruptive technologies. And what we're thinking here in terms of the model is obviously modeling the costs of that technology, but really the benefits over that whole life cycle period as well. So you've really got to open up to the long-term prospects. And put those all into your cost benefit analysis to think about how it will impact cash flow and benefit in the longer term. Okay, let's move on. So I wanted to just briefly touch on the role of the MTC really in industry in helping you do this. And we really combine the pull from industry to generate products and services and the things that you need us to do, and to prepare for inserting new technologies into the business. So when we think about a technology roadmap, it's not just, you know, the technologies that you select. Like I say, it's the whole readiness of your business and all of the services that you need to help you get ready, from culture and leadership readiness for these new technologies, through to the digital tools that you require to integrate them into your manufacturing system. And then we're also here to push technologies a little bit as well. So we're not evangelists that are going to blindly push technology for technology's sake. Like I say, I'm not a fan of shiny syndrome, and quite often see inappropriate technologies being sold to business. But we are here to inspire and show you what is available in terms of state-of-the-art processes and methods and technologies, to enable you to see the bigger picture of all of the things that you could select from and how they really could impact your whole business model, with the goal, of course, of making UK industry competitive on the global scale, as we've got here. And just finally, I just wanted to touch on a little bit of context about where road mapping fits into the process as well. So although we're focusing on technology road mapping today, we really need to think about that whole bigger picture of the process for your business as well. So a typical sort of process that we would take would be to do a discovery process where we're looking at technology, finances, manufacturing processes, potentially culture, leadership, the whole way that the business operates. Developing a strategic plan and vision for the business. So where do we actually want to be in the future? And also looking at what technologies could enable us to have different visions as well. And what will the business benefits be? Evaluate in terms of looking at different value propositions. What are the priorities in there? How do we turn that into value accelerators? And talk about business component modeling. So how does technology insertion potentially impact other areas of your business? Like I say, logistics, marketing, distribution, finance, HR even, and staff. And at that point, we then really look at the detail of the technology road mapping and plot out the stuff that Richard's going to be talking about later. So a time-based technology insertion plan, if you like. And then, of course, that's not the end. The technology roadmap is something that's permanently live, but we need to bring it to life through implementation. So we also need a really robust implementation plan, constantly evolve that plan, control and improve, and prepare for more innovation as we learn as a business, take opportunities, and not see a technology roadmap as the final goal, really. So again, it's just the beginning of you starting a journey into understanding what technologies will give you that real competitive advantage for your business going forward, and constantly adapting, as we've learned in the last 6 months. You know, the world can throw all sorts of things at us. So again, it's very much a live document, and something that we can evolve in time. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Paul. Just take this short opportunity to field any questions. Over to you, Chris.
Yes, so as I say, please do, or you're more than welcome to ask any questions if you raise your hand using the button at the bottom of your screen with reactions, or do pop them in the chat as we go along. We haven't got any at the moment for you, Paul, but a very quick one from me is if you're a niche supplier and you don't naturally have any competitors, what's the kind of gain for you to implement new technology and of course resultingly a roadmap as well?
If you're a niche supplier in your own market, congratulations for now. But I think the one thing you can guarantee in those kinds of circumstances is that if you don't adapt and change and rest on your laurels in that marketplace, either an external factor will come along and change the shape or size of that market, or someone else will come along and eat your breakfast. So absolutely, there's always an imperative to change in manufacturing. I'm probably preaching to the converted, but I do see businesses that absolutely have the lucky position of being dominant in their marketplace, but always get that sense of, come on guys, we've got to change, we've got to keep developing, because somebody else will come. It is a race, and it's a global race, unfortunately. So you don't want to miss opportunities that technology can afford. And it may be in those circumstances that we focus on the push of technology as well. You've maybe got the luxury of a little bit of time where you can experiment with something really cutting edge that could change the whole dynamic of that marketplace, and really put you far out ahead of competitors. Yeah.
Absolutely, thanks, Paul. It's definitely a longer term picture there, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, the understanding within the sector of the benefits available, or is kind of really increasing. So to improve awareness, but also break down some of those barriers is obviously a way forward, as you say, to stay on top of your market. But we haven't got any questions in the chat, so more than happy to move on in terms of the practicalities of a roadmap with Richard, if you wanted to move things on,
okay.
Nigel and team.
Yep. Thanks, Chris. So without further ado, pass over to Richard for his technology road mapping in action.
Hi, Nigel. So yeah, I guess I have a few slides as by means of an introduction, and then we'll just go through an example. I'll probably have to rattle through the slides a little bit, but if you keep going, Nigel. So I guess the first thing to say is that at the MTC, we get an awful lot of companies come to us with an awful lot of problems or a lot of issues. So I don't intend to read all these, but this is just a flavor of the kind of range of companies that come to us and a range of problems, and they're all things that I've worked on. That's why they're on the list. Nigel. I guess the next logical question, I guess, is what is a roadmap? And kind of nice thing about this is that I don't really need to say what's going on here. You know, the picture is pretty obvious. So it's kind of a visual representation of where you are now and where you're going to get to. Usually broken down into a set of themes or milestones. So you can see NASA here has put a few milestones along the top here. And it goes by time. So you sort of start now on the left and work right. And you can have these at various levels of detail as well. So this roadmap here is quite top level. So you probably use it in Congress to get money or something like that. But I guess as manufacturers, we want something a bit more detailed, which is on the next slide. So I guess this is the kind of thing that we produce for companies in a couple of days for a roadmap. I guess Jason's on the line. He'll probably know who Company X is, the title of this. But essentially, everyone's goal as a manufacturer is a future factory. What it means to different people, you know, is different. But you know, it's everyone wants to make money. You know, make money into the future, make products people want to use. You know, the kind of generic goals are all the same. But just the constraints every company faces is a bit different. So you end up with a different roadmap along the way. It's a series of connected projects. So if you look at all those boxes, they're all individual projects that can be done. And each project kind of enables the next one. So if you start on the left, they're normally some sort of quick wins, and the skills you can build there sort of enable the next step along until you get to the right. We don't put just technology on there. Some of the things on this roadmap here are training, getting involved in development programs and whatnot. So it's kind of almost starts becoming a bit of a project plan. Usually some milestones. So along the top, this company's got a few sort of milestones they'd achieve. So I guess the first one's improving digital readiness. The next one is a foundation knowledge of AM. And it just kind of keeps us focused, so we can say, right, okay, we've achieved this milestone. It's a nice way of communicating. And also split into themes on the bottom right. You can see we've colored the boxes. And really, there's no real rules to it. You can color the boxes however you feel like, but it's been useful to this company to split it into themes about what technology they're addressing. So I guess the next logical question is, should you bother investing the time? I think yes, to make one, because I think it sort of quickly reduces the number of options. You know, when you talk about technology, you kind of get a bit like blinded by all the options. So it's a nice quick way of getting everything onto one page. So this is what I think. I reckon planning out your investment journey, heading down the right path. Attracting investment, Paul's talked about. It's kind of a nice, neat one-page way of explaining what your plan is. The facility planning, keeping on track. There's a few companies that have these stuck on the walls, like big sort of global companies. We've gone back and visited them, and in the production office, they've got the roadmap printed out as a poster stuck on the wall. So that's quite nice to see, actually. Promotes collaboration by making the roadmap, and then also by explaining it to people as well. It's quite a lot of times, you know, you can kind of have a few people in a room that come up with a plan, but it's not very easy to communicate it, and yeah, it's not so inclusive. And I like it because it reflects how progress is actually made. It's not a master plan. It's a load of different steps along the way, and roadmaps change all the time, so it kind of more reflects reality, and it's quick and easy to make. So I guess onto the method. So the nuts and bolts of how we do it. We've got a 7-step process along the top, and the first few stages are kind of data gathering. So this is what we do when we go visit a company. And then the later stages is where we kind of get into the meat of it. So the company we've chosen here is sort of an anonymized example. But this company we went to see was they make architectural steelwork. So on the left-hand picture, they make the handrails, the balconies, and all the metal bits you can see on that block of flats. They also make all the metal bits you can see on the right-hand picture in the prison. So all the green, the green balconies and balustrades, and they're all kind of custom made. So the key with this is that every architect designs things subtly differently. It surprised me. I thought you'd get a standard balcony from B&Q, but no, you don't. It's all very, very bespoke. The business drivers of this company are really the most important is on the left. So again, what surprised me is their biggest #1 problem is a shortage of welder fabricators. They just can't hire enough people. This granted was before coronavirus came, so I don't know if it's changed now, but they can't hire people locally, and they've hired everyone from Europe that they can hire, so that they're kind of a bit stuck now. And the second biggest problem is the job satisfaction of the welder fabricators. So some of the work's boring, small parts are boring. The big architectural stuff they like. The other problem that they have here is the kind of future generation. So, you know, they can maybe get by for now, but what they're looking at is that they've not been able to hire anyone young. They're just not interested in working in the environment. And then the rest. The changing needs of OEMs, this is because they're in the construction business, they're getting affected by a lot of this push towards digitalization of construction. So, you know, digital supply chain, digital quotes, everything comes with a model, and it's all very, they're kind of at the sharp end of this. So looking into the far future, they need to cope with this. And productivity and zero defects, so it's on everyone's list. Next thing we do is just go have a look at the current state. This isn't their actual factory, but it's very similar. There's lots of people welding, and it's all sort of traditional craft kind of work. The workflow is a bit of an issue. They either, you know, they get it handover from the design office into production, and you end up with like batches of, when you walk around, you see like pallets of parts. It's the small boring parts that get left until last. So there's piles of these little pallets of small boring parts knocking around the factory. And it's quite unpleasant from an outsider anyway. You know, I went there and got sick both times I was there. And it was a good factory. This is a very good company. So you can imagine what the bad ones are like. And it's the small batches. So it's just kind of set the scene. That's what we do. I guess if you do it in your own company, you already know the current state. And the next thing, everyone sort of maps out their future vision in a different way. Some are quite detailed, like this company here. Some people draw it on a bit of paper. Some just make a few notes, and honestly, some don't really know the future direction. So it's highly variable. But this is what they do. The orange circle there is this company's plan. They're going to automate the production of small parts. So, if you know, next slide. So I guess this is the meat of it. This is kind of the sort of fun part, I suppose, is that we select, you know, from the list of all available technologies everywhere. we sort of stick them through the filter and sort of throw darts at the wall, and we end up, this is just a small selection, so that, this is 9 out of 20, 30 odd of sort of ideas that we had on the wall. We kind of get our inspiration from all these places in the bubbles on the left. So there's the usual technology suppliers, bigger players. So we work a lot with bigger companies that they have bigger R&D departments, so they're kind of further ahead with a lot of this stuff. So we've got that connection. Best practice, just brand new ideas. A bit sometimes from academia. The wire arc additive, it's Cranfield's into this, so we can kind of make a few connections that way. We also include everything, so technology and working methods. So a lot of the time, technology isn't really the solution. We sort of look at like like lean methods and not this kind of thing. So, but better processes and sort of people practice. And we also, well, Paul talked about it as well, technology push and pull. So I guess the technology push is a technology looking for a problem, and the pull is a problem looking for a solution. So just the messages include everything. And this is some of the stuff we came up with. And we try and put a cost to things and a lead time. Rough order. I mean, they're about right, but it's kind of rough costs. I'd also say on the bottom right as well, some things kind of come for free. So we've proposed putting a robot in here, welding. So why not use this robot to deposit material? So we can get into additive. It opens up a new market, and it's essentially free. So there's a picture there of self-locating parts in the bottom middle. So the idea is you can make up that bracket additively using the deposition from the welder. Next one. So now we've got all the technologies down. We start organizing them on a roadmap. So organize them in sequence. So the things that are easy, often a bit cheaper, and they don't really rely on anything else, can go on the left-hand side. And then we work, building up to the right. We normally add some milestones. So you can see along the top, phase 1 is these quick returns. So that this company can, let's see, modular tooling is on there. They can use that for manual welding and automated. So there's no reason not to just get involved in it now. It gives you some production advantages. Moving over like a year, small part automation will be working. And then out phase 3, this kind of gets a bit more woolly, because this is all of the it's the construction industry driver to sort of digitalization. So a lot of this stuff lives to the right. So the next thing we do is add on a few dependencies. So some new boxes have appeared on here, and these are robot training, recruiting some robot cell operators. So things that are kind of preparation activities. So it's starting to get a bit more project planning. And then we can also add some themes. So again, it was useful to this company to separate out the welding from the environment and the automation strands, just for communication purposes. And that completes Rev 1. So this is where we stop and say, look, we've got a roadmap ready for Rev 1. So the next thing is, I guess for us, it's a lot of communications. So go back and get the board together, chat in the boardroom, go pour over the roadmap, go see the people in the factory. That was just a first draft, so we do a bit of review work on it. I would say the next thing to do is implement the quick wins. So the stuff on the left, there's usually no reason just not to get on with it. It's often pretty cheap, and really there's no reason just not to build up a bit of momentum. And then for each of those boxes, each of the technology opportunities, arrange some trials and demos. And this is what you can see on the top right. That's a test part at ABB in Milton Keynes. And then review every year. I would say Paul made the point that it changes. You gotta keep reviewing these things. And next one. So it's been a bit of a rattle through it, but I guess there is an imperative to invest in technology. Paul's talked about it. Hopefully I've talked a bit more about it. And roadmaps are how we would plan out investment. I think it's quite a good tool for communicating and getting that investment. And it ensures you start in the right place. I did this note because someone made the point that a lot of companies seem to start in the middle, so you kind of forget the preparation work on the left-hand side of the roadmap. So it sort of avoids us jumping in too soon. And I think they're relatively quick to make. These things take a couple days. So I wouldn't say there's no reason not to do it yourself. Obviously, it's a bit better if you can involve someone like us, for example, that kind of draws a bit of a wider pool of available technologies. But it's sort of quick and easy to do, I would say. And I think that is me.
Thanks very much, Richard. Thank you again, Chris. Any questions from the audience for this section?
I don't see any questions in the chat, but a very quick one from me, Richard, and I think you referred to it a few times there about the dynamic nature of a roadmap and how often you need to revisit, what the kind of typical longevity of one looks like, to kind of go into a little bit of detail on that.
I would say it's one of these questions you can always say, oh, how long's a piece of string? But you know, most people I see it's about every year, because really that time period of about a year is as long as it takes you to kind of get on and do anything sort of meaningful. You know, most equipment's on a 6-month lead time. You know, most programs take a bit of time. So I would, if I had to put a number on it, I'd say a year. But but bearing in mind it's quite variable.
Super, thank you, Richard. And kind of moving on in this session, we're also delighted to be joined by Jason Aldridge, who is the Managing Director of Arrowsmith Engineering. And one of the kind of the real golden nuggets of a session like this is obviously to hear how you can implement things, and a lot of the theory and some of those practicalities laid out, but really from somebody who's been involved with some of the partners on the call and the MTC more generally in implementing a technology roadmap. So thanks for joining us this morning, Jason. And I just wanted to pick your brains on a few things. You know, having completed a roadmap, what would be the kind of biggest benefit that your business has seen?
I think, as Richard was saying, that the one of the major helping areas is that you've got independent advice. So it's a very quick method. That's what I like as well, being SME, low concentration span. So something quick works well for me. We get it done in a day here, and a day later, we can have a technology roadmap. So a real quick win. We get good independent advice, and it gets our technology plans into order. A lot with technology, you've got all these plans and all these thoughts sort of in your head of what you can do here, what you can do there, what's out there, and none of us are in front of technology. We're always behind. So to get some sort of plan and some sort of order is excellent. And to put that into a formal context, the first thing I do is put it straight away into my business plan. It's a brilliant document to have in your business plan to show you've looked at the strategy of technology. The other place I often use it is in presentations to customers, again, to show that we have got control of our strategy and our technology plans going forward. And if you've got the MTC name behind you, it does give it kudos. As an SME, obviously, there's always questions about, are you using the biggest and best? Have you got the best intel? Well, obviously linking with MTC, it is hard to argue that that isn't some of the best intel available. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and good to hear in terms of the speed and also the wide range of uses for internal use. But in terms of specifically on your roadmap, is there anything that the MTC advised you on or put in your roadmap that you probably wouldn't have done if you hadn't been involved with them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good at using what's around me, basically. I think a lot of SMEs are, and we are very lucky. It's unusual, people say, even lucky to be based in Coventry. It's not the prettiest city, but we have got some good stuff around us. And the MTC and the universities is certainly some of those things. So we can truly look at new technologies, and it is on our doorstep to get assistance. to give you real life, the last roadmap we did a while ago, we're doing a machine connectivity project with MTC. That came literally out of the roadmap. That came out of that we'd looked at it. As with a lot of technology, we'd looked at it, it had dropped down, and we pulled it back up, and we found an opening there that we could work on. So that worked well. We're also looking at automation, digitalization, and additive manufacturing. Digitalization, additive manufacturing is a mixture of establishments such as MTC, the universities, and the automation and a bit of digitalization is with private companies. Because we're very lucky again in the Midlands to have a lot of, you've got FANUC, you've got CNC Mill, you've got all sorts of companies around that we can link with. So they were genuine ones. And as Richard again said, that you have to keep updating it. So additive manufacturing and automation, we picked up on a previous roadmap. And on this one, it showed it, we take it to the next stage. So yeah, so you name an area, we're looking at it, and it does pull it into some sort of formal process by having a roadmap.
Brilliant. As you say, the well, and we're very lucky in the Midlands in particular in terms of the wealth of knowledge and expertise we have. But that can quite often be a double-edged sword, and having somebody to navigate through that is, it sounds it's been beneficial for you guys, and that is something that we typically hear from members when starting on a similar kind of journey. We do have a quick question from Paul Mallinson in the chat, which is also something we tend to hear from members in regards to sort of staff engagement and getting them involved in your processes. With the roadmap, I think Paul asks specifically, has it been a good communication tool with your own staff?
Yeah, what I find is certainly being an SME, and we're quite forward thinking, as I think a lot of SMEs are, truthfully, that they really like new technology. From the engineers to the shop floor, they love new stuff coming in. This thing of fear of automation and a fear of other stuff. They're not as keen on 5S and lean and all this, but modern technology, they love it. So digitalization, automation, connectivity, additive manufacturing, they love it, absolutely love it. And to see we've got a plan really sort of works well in the company. It feels like you're moving forward. Certainly within an SME, you want to feel like you're at the cutting edge. You want to feel like you're moving forward. And that really is a good description of the roadmap. It is this way we're keeping in pace with technology and the normal world. And it gives them confidence that they're working for a company that's looking forward, that we're advancing. So yeah, we get huge support from that. It really is a popular thing.
Brilliant. And similar to, I think you've already slightly touched on it, and Richard did so with regards to how often you'd revisited, to just give us an idea, how long have you been involved with the roadmap and how many times as a rule of thumb have you revisited?
I mean, it'd be great if you could do it every year, but realistically, we've done it every couple of years. And it's just time flies, doesn't it? You know what I mean? That's what it is. To do it every year is fairly keen. But I think every 2 or 3 years, because things move so quickly. So with additive manufacturing, that is moving so quickly. That when we first looked at it, when we first did a roadmap earlier, it was about like getting involved maybe with fixtures, maybe plastic. By the time we get to the next roadmap, we're looking at metal powder and post-processing, because we've also learned during that previous period. So I think that's why you've got to do it fairly regularly, because technology moves so quickly and your position on that map will have moved quickly, and probably the direction.
Super. And what would you say to a manufacturer that's perhaps skeptical or maybe heard a little bit and thought, not quite sure? What would you say to somebody that has that sort of disposition at the minute?
I honestly, but there is no real negative to it. And I genuinely mean that. It's not like doing one of these huge improvement programs where it's going to cost you a lot of money and a lot of time. It's it takes one day. You get a document which lasts for a year. It adds to your strategy, it adds to your business plan, it gives you a route forward, and you actually get a proper tap into the MTC. So sometimes in the past, the MTC criticised for they don't know what to do with them and they can't get in, all this sort of stuff. This is the MTC coming out and helping you come up with an idea of how you can use the MTC. So it's a win-win. It genuinely is, to me, an absolute no-brainer just to go and do this, spend a day, get your roadmap, put it in your business plan, get your team on board. Yeah, it's a good thing. It genuinely is.
And lastly, Jason, how did you get involved, or how did you, as you know, the MTC has been around for nearly a decade. How did you sort of get first involved, or meet Nigel and the team and that kind of thing?
Belligerence, really. I stalked them at the MTC and just kept going on at them until they'd work with me. And I think that's what you have to do. It's such a, and the same with the universities, the same with everyone else. We've got so many opportunities around us, and the MTC being 3 or 4 miles away. And truthfully, they want to work with SMEs. I think when they first started, everyone was trying to find their way. But now, probably 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, that they'll contact me and say, "Oh, we've got something to look at," and I'll contact them and this type of stuff. It really is opening up that dialogue. Certainly, Nigel and the team, and they've got a lot of people who are trying to work with the SMEs now. It really isn't difficult to work with the MTC at all. But the benefits for us, from a perception point of view, and certainly for a technology point of view, are massive, absolutely massive. So.
Super. And we have just had a question into the chat from Adam, who, referring back to your points around sort of staff engagement, and those of, or some of you quoted how they're more interested in implementing technology rather than 5S and lean manufacturing. What's maybe the reason behind that? Is Adam's question.
Shall I take that one? Sorry, it's Paul.
Please do.
Thanks for the question, Adam. So I think you're saying, why are 5S and lean not as a, yeah, that's exactly what you're saying. And I think the answer from me is absolutely all of that stuff is massively important. There's lots of us here at the MTC. There's obviously a lot of engineers that are very passionate about new technology, but like I spoke about, shiny syndrome is quite addictive. And actually, you've got to make sure that your business and your operations are ready to insert technology. So quite often SMEs will bring us in because they think they want one thing, and we will come and look at your shop floor, your leadership, your policy deployment, your lean, all your operational stuff, and really try and get that in really tip-top condition. So you're ready then to make more step changes potentially with technology. So the two absolutely go hand in hand, and technology insertion without solid operational excellence work won't be sustainable, and you'll end up with a robot in the corner with a dust cloth over it in 18 months time. So absolutely it is as attractive.
Can I just chip in? There's Nigel.
Yeah.
I think there is to me, what I've seen the benefit from outside of having a technology roadmap and like Jason's done, communicated to the employees, is that you can go and sell the 5S and lean a lot easier. You can sort of say, you want this stuff, you want the automation, you want the machine connectivity. In order to do that, we've got to get our basic behaviors right first. So I think it helps to overcome those barriers, because the lean and 5S means I've got to change my personal behavior, which nobody wants to do. Technology that's great. I can press a few buttons and it's whizzy. But you can't just do, as Paul said, you can't just go straight to the buttons. If you've got the same bad behavior, you end up with bad buttons being pushed. So it's a great tool, I'm finding. If you've got the technology roadmap, you can say, I've got that. Now we can go back, and there is a better engagement because people can see where they're trying to get to and the reason for doing the boring stuff.
Yeah,
so I think there's a good connection there.
And I think I've often spoken about there's a perception that lean practitioners are from Mars and technologists are from Venus. I don't think that should be the case at all. I think I'd like to think the MTC and people like myself and the team, it's sort of in the middle of that dichotomy, if you like, and we really want to plug the two together to get the real step changes in that competitive advantage. You need all of that stuff put together as a strategy.
Brilliant, thank you, Paul and Nigel. And any final comment on that, Jason, as we come to the end of the session?
Yeah, obviously 5S is hugely important, but I think I've been here 15 years. I think I'm on my 10th relaunch of 5S. It's just a constant battle with 5S. And it is, that's the everyday, that's what happens every day. And you've just got to constantly keep relaunching 5S, new things, upgrading it. And I think that's the reality, that's the norm. The 5S and lean is the norm. The technology roadmap is that bit of joyous, nice stuff on the side. Do you know what I mean? That's the reality. Having shine is good. I know Bayton Road and Coventry is quite glamorous, but even here we want to bring a bit of entertainment to the day, and technology does that. I mean, the Cobot entertained us for days when we first had it going, and you say, but we would watch it for hours, and we would be very happy with this. Additive manufacturing, again, absolutely watching those bits of dust be made into something, absolutely love it. Do you know what I mean? It just is really quite exciting. And work can be, and I don't want to break anyone's bubble, but can be a bit monotonous at times. So if you're bringing in new things, you're seeing you're moving forward. It is important. I mean, we've had this factory here for almost 60 years. We have to entertain ourselves with stuff. Do you know what I mean? We just make bits of metal. So if we can do things which are new, which and makes you feel like you're moving forward, it's psychologically it's a good thing, as well as it's just good for business and keeps you in business, basically.
Absolutely, and you know, being on top of things and gives you real confidence for the business, especially in a time like we're seeing at the moment. But brilliant. We haven't now moved to the end of the session. We don't have any more questions in the chat, but you're more than welcome for those that have joined us this morning to follow up with any of our guest speakers. I will share this slideshow and details of how to get in touch with the MTC alongside Make UK's Innovation Monitor report as well. So many thanks to Jason, Richard, Paul and Nigel for joining us this morning, and yourselves for watching and listening in. And we will be running a session similar to this one with the MTC next month. We've heard a little bit about additive manufacturing today. We'll move a little bit and focus a bit more on automation in November, which we'll share details for as well. But brilliant. As I say, thank you very much for joining us. And
Chris, before you go, Chris, if I can just, we've just got a short bit. We've got a very short video, but at the end we've just got an offer out to the audience that might be of interest. If I can just tap a couple of slides.
Yeah.
So bear with us for a short video. Okay, it's just 45 seconds.
We can deliver value to businesses quickly.
Working with clients, strengthen our businesses.
Using their challenges and the technology that's right for them.
£50 million worth of the latest manufacturing technology.
Fresh thinking that you could not access any other way.
Doing things out of the ordinary is not out of the ordinary for us.
Working with MTC has been fantastic. I believe this is a smart approach to business.
We've turned over 30% more orders. We actually haven't employed anybody else.
We've managed to double our turnover in a period of 2 years without increasing our overhead costs.
We focus on helping Great British manufacturing get even better.
Oops, and the key thing is the offer here. We've heard about technology roadmaps. We have got an offer to anybody that's listening. If they are interested, we've got 5 places for a 2-day technology roadmap if you wish. Book them by the 30th of October. And the email address to do so is at the bottom of the website. Just thought I'd like to point that out to make a final offer. So back to you, Chris. Thank you very much.
No, brilliant. Thanks, Nigel. Good to see you involved in that video, but also a really great way to present the kind of offer and some of the benefits of working with the MTC and adapting technologies and laying that out in a roadmap. But thanks for joining us all this morning. And as I say, we will share a recording and some of the materials involved today following this meeting as well. But thank you very much.